Hey, I hope that you're ready for some serious brain exercise. So if you're not, pause this now, get something to eat, get something to drink, put your thinking cap on, and let's do this. All right, this is all review. You have all of this already. This is what we did today in class, the factor by grouping. So first, group first two and last two with the addition symbol in between. So first two terms, 12bc minus 4bd, addition sign, and then last two terms, negative 15xc plus 5xd. Now what we're doing is taking out our GCF. As far as coefficients go, these are both divisible by 4. They also have b in common. Okay, so then we switch, and when we divide, we get 3c minus 4 divided by 4 gives you 1, so we don't write it. B divided by b gives you 1, so we don't write that, but we're left with d. And now we're going to take out our GCF for the other one. Remember that if the first term is negative, you're going to take the negative out. Well, you have a negative term here, so we're taking out negative. They are both divisible by 5, and they're also both divisible by x. Then when we go through and divide, negative divided by a negative is positive, so it's a positive 3. X divided by x is 1, and then c. Now we're doing a positive 5 divided by a negative 5. That's a negative 1. X divided by x is 1, and we're left with d. Remember that the two that you have in your sets of parentheses here should be identical. In this case they are, so we are good to go. And then our last step, group together the GCFs, 4b and negative 5x go in one set of parentheses, and 3c minus d goes in the second set. All right. Okay, so today is a continuation of that. Be ready for some serious brain explosion. It will happen. All right. But now what's happening is we're taking those steps and we're adding stuff to the beginning of it, which is what makes it a little bit harder. It seems tougher, but you already have the main steps down, so we should be okay. All right, so 3 terms this time. Oh my gosh. I know you're thinking, OMG, right? Yeah, that's exactly the thought that crossed your mind. Okay, so I want you to look at this a little bit at a time. I'm going to cover this up because you are going to get overwhelmed looking at all of that at one time. So I'm getting rid of it. All right, so more steps. You still follow the 3 from your last section, okay? But before you get there, because those become your last 3, all right? So these become last 3 steps. Okay, so if it's in standard form, we're good. You write it, okay? Next, you're making a mama table. I know it seems really ridiculous, and actually I did not name. Some of my students in the past did because it helped them to remember. So the M, what the M represents is multiplying. So you're multiplying the coefficients of the first and third terms, and then write the product next to it. And then A is adding, but what you're going to do is just write A and then write the coefficient of the middle term. So it will look something like this. All right? So our M step here is the top row of our table. We took our 4 and multiplied it by negative 3 to get our negative 12. Okay? And now your A step here, this, we just took our positive 4 and wrote it here. Okay, so not that bad yet, right? Not so bad. All right, these are just a repeat. Don't copy it. Now what we're going to do is, in our third step, list all possible factors of the term in the top row. So really, what you're looking at for is everything that would multiply to give you negative 12. Okay, if you multiplied negative 1 times positive 12, that would give you negative 12. and work your way on down. So all our possible factors. Remember, factors are your multiplying, okay? So all of these terms will multiply to give you this number right here. Not so bad. Now our next step, this you already have. After you have figured out all of those factors, in the next step you're going to add each set, so each pair, and you're going to write the sum below it. So, working our way through. First, take -1, and instead of multiplying it by 12 like we did up here, we're adding it to 12. Okay, so we're going through. Here we get 11, then we get -11. -2 times, or plus 6 is 4. -6 times 2 is, or plus 2 is -4. -4 plus 3 is -1, and -3 plus 4 is a +1. Okay, so there's everything. List your factors, and then together in that same area is where you want to list the sum of the two numbers. All right, now what you want, you have all these. What you want to do is circle the pair that multiplies to give you -12, but will add to give you -4. Well, the first thing is every single one of these factors multiplies to give us -12. This is not our issue. Adding to give us a +4, that is our issue. That's what we need to look for, okay? So what we're looking really at is just these numbers right here. Well, if you look at, if you look at our first group here, we have a -1 times 12, but when we add them, we get 11. That's not what we're looking for. Work your way down. The second one, add them, we get -11. That's not what we're looking for. Next one, here it is, +4. That's what we're looking for. So it's not that, it's not that. Now also none of those will work. This is our only one that gives us the +4. So it fits both of the columns. Multiplies to give you -12, add to give you 4. Okay? Now what you're going to do with these two numbers, the -2 and the +6, what you are going to do with those is rewrite them as -2x plus 6x. Okay? Just trust me. Okay, just do it. Okay, now, this you have. Replace the middle term from the original problem using the two coefficients you circled in step 5. We circled those, remember, this was the one we wanted. We have our original problem here, and we replaced it to have 4 terms. Now what you'll notice is that if you were to simplify this, you would end up right back at our original problem. So all we're doing is just rewriting it so that we have 4 terms, which means now we can do our grouping, which we already know how to do, right? So here's our 4 terms, and now it's just what we've already done before. After we've replaced, now the rest is steps from our last lesson, okay? And I know your eyes are bulging out of your head right now, but it's okay. It seems like a lot, but it gets easier the more you practice it. So, group together first 2, last 2, plus sign in between, GCFs of each one, and then group together the GCFs and what's left over. And I know you're thinking, whew, this was exhausting. I know. Take a bite of your peanut butter and jelly, dip the carrot in the ranch, take a sip of your Coke, whatever it is that you're doing, breathe, crack your knuckles, and let's do another one, okay? Now this one I'm going to do all on this page, all in one swoop. Are you ready? What was our first step? Well, first was, is it in standard form? Yes, it is. So standard, we're good. All right, our next step was to create. So remember, we just want to draw our lines. Okay, and we're mama table because it's M up top and A on the bottom. All right, now multiply. Remember, multiply. That means you're multiplying your first and third terms. So 2 times 5. So that would be our 10. And then for our middle term, our 11, that goes here. Okay, now in our top row, list out all factors of 10. If we take 1 and multiply it by 10, that will give you 10. If we take, actually I don't want to do those in green. If we take -1 and multiply it by -10, we get a positive 10. If we take 5 and multiply it by 2, we get a positive 10. If we take -5 and multiply it by a -2, we get a positive 10. Now don't forget the negatives, okay, because these will come in handy sometimes. All right, then what do we do from here? We go ahead and add each set of our factors. So 1 plus 10 now instead. We're adding them, which would give us 11. -1 plus -10 would give us -11. 5 plus 2 would give us 7. And -5 plus -2 would give us -7. All right, so we're looking for the two terms that multiply to give you this number up top, the 10, which is everything we have already. We just have to find out which one gave us the sum of 11, which would be that one. Okay? So since that is the pair that will work for our problem, now you just continue this on your paper. Don't erase anything. I'm erasing it to give myself some more room. You've got room. I know it. Okay, so we replace our middle term using the two numbers from here. So keep the 2x squared, replace the middle to be plus x, which would be our 1x, plus 10x, and then plus 5. Okay, and remember, if you just were to simplify these two middle terms, it would come right back to this problem here. And then the rest is just the easy peasy part. You know this stuff. Group. Okay? The reason I grouped like that is because this number is already 10. It's already positive, so that plus sign is in between. Now take out your GCF. When you do that, we have x, and then what's left over is 2x plus 1. In here, we have 5, and what's left over is 2x plus 1. Group together your GCFs, x plus 5, and group together your last leftovers, 2x minus 1. Okay, and always check it by using either FOIL or box. All right, see, you can do it. It's not that bad. I hope that you survived. This was short and sweet because it's pretty intense, but we're done. I hope you're dancing. If you're not, get up and dance because you're done. Woohoo! All right, see you tomorrow.